Welcome. I'm here at Buckeye Game Fest with David Thompson,
Yeah.
Flying Pig designer now, which
Yeah,
is
that's
awesome.
right. Join the family.
Yes, joining the family. So thank you for joining us. Are you having a good con so far?
No, it's awesome. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, it is really cool. So he has agreed to let me interview him. So I've got some really great questions for him and also some kind of games to play. So I wanted to start with, are you aware that there are a lot of famous David Thompsons other than you?
I know the basketball player.
Yes.
I know the Canadian explorer, geographer.
Yes.
That's it.
There's also an actor.
Oh, I didn't know
There's
that.
an IMDb page for him too, but yeah, he's the greatest land geographer who ever lived.
Yeah.
The guy from Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, David Thompson's like a common name, but not too common.
You're right.
So,
Yeah.
Anyway, so in all seriousness, you have mentioned to me before that A Few Acres of Snow by Martin Wallace is one of your favorite games of all time. Can you elaborate on why that is?
Some of it might be it's one of the first like board games, especially war games that I played. So I came to board games, war games kind of late. I grew up in RPGs, and it wasn't until like my 30s that I started really getting into that hobby. And so a lot of people are introduced to like deck building through Dominion or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or war games through Hex Encounter. But I came in a very different time and place.
Yeah.
And so it was one of the first games that I really remember playing. And it's always left like a lasting impression because I think of the innovative way that it combines deck building, but like the spatial element of it. So it's always stood out. Martin Wallace is like a genius designer.
Yeah.
So it's always been a very influential game to me, like as a player, as a designer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. That's really interesting. So you started out playing RPGs?
Yeah, I grew up on the first one I played was the Palladium, which is the same company that makes Rifts and stuff, which are popular, but quickly transitioned to D&D. And then I just grew up on that. And about the time I got married and was having kids, I was like, I need to find a hobby that takes up less time.
Like 5-hour sessions all the time. Yeah.
Well, and I was the DM. So I was spending way too much time like making up content that never got played and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to podcasts where they would talk about RPG content, but they also talk about board games.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, what are these games they're talking about? So that's how I came into board gaming.
It's so foreign to think of you separate from the board gaming
Yeah,
hobby. Like
I know.
it's so funny.
Yeah, and now I do very, very little RPG stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the joke about like, oh, I got out of RPGs because it was too much time, and now it's a second job, right? So
Yeah. I know I didn't get into RPGs. I mean, I grew up playing tabletop with my dad, but I've been the one to like teach my family about RPGs because we were so like, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so kind of the opposite. So many people know many of your designs are designed with Trevor Benjamin. What is the biggest piece of advice you would give people looking to co-design with another person?
So I would say definitely co-design. I mean, you minimally be part of like an active like design playtest group, right? Where you're meeting up recurring, etc. But honestly, there's so much practical benefit to having a co-designer. So a lot of our games are 2-player games because we work on those. And when we design together, we design together. So we don't do a lot of design partnerships. Like one person will work on it for a while and they'll give it to the other one.
Yeah.
We don't do that at all. So 100% of the design is happening together.
Just simultaneously.
Yeah. And we've discovered that's what works best for us. And that's my preferred approach for all my co-design partnerships.
Yeah.
Some don't work out that way, but that's my preference. And we click really well. So like the things that I'm super passionate about, probably good at or better at, he doesn't care as much for, and he does a lot of the stuff that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
So that collaboration really works well.
You just complement each other.
Yeah. But back to your question, there's so many practical benefits, even as simple as, and this sounds kind of silly, like when you have a co-design partner, it helps hold yourself accountable, right? Because, okay, we're going to meet, and you set a meeting, and you have to get your stuff done before the meeting, and just all that kind of, and of course the obvious, like you have a built-in test partner, right? So a lot of benefits. Yeah.
I even feel that way working with an artist. Like once I hire an artist, I'm like, okay, well, they need me to give them answers. I can't just be like, I don't know yet.
Right.
I have to I got to give them. So that accountability is like invaluable for sure. So how did you and Trevor find each other? Was it Tinder?
We found each other on Tinder. Yeah. Our wives don't know, so don't let like. No, we.
You did on the friend setting. It was fine.
So I moved to the UK in 2014 for work. And I lived right outside of Cambridge. And so in the UK, there's a group called the UK Playtest Meetup or something like that. But I think it might be the largest organized playtest group in the world. It's
Whoa.
super well organized, super active, and there is a group in Cambridge that meets that's part of that larger group. And so two people, Matt Dunstan and Brett Gilbert, who are very prolific, popular, famous designers, organized that group, and Trevor had recently joined it. And so I think within a week or two of me moving to the UK, I went to a session,
Yeah.
and we met in that group.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
My dad and I were talking. We were like, I wonder how they met. And then Dad was like, well, I wonder if Trevor was like also in the military because he's American.
He's Canadian.
Oh, he's Canadian.
He's Canadian.
Oh.
So the funny thing is, he's Canadian. I'm American. We met in the UK, right?
Yeah.
But that group is very, like, there's only a few Brits. Like, it's a very international group of designers.
That's so cool, though.
Yeah.
That's really fun to have all those different cultures.
Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna play a game.
Okay.
Okay. So in a lot of my interviews, I like to play some sort of game. So this one's pretty harmless, but it's the game. If you like X, then I suggest Y.
Okay.
So those variables. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm gonna name something, and I want you to suggest a board game based on what I say.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
It's pretty friendly though.
Yep.
All right. So if you like TTRPGs, then I suggest.
Oh, that's good. I mean, probably the obvious answer is like Gloomhaven or something. But here's the thing, the thing I like about RPGs is the role playing, not the tactical combat.
Yeah.
So I don't know, an RPG or a board game that scratches that itch. Probably. It's a tough question.
I mean, you're right with the TTRPG element because so many people like that improv and that like banter and just like just the improv element versus when I thought of it when I was writing this question, I was like maybe just the idea of playing, that in that character with like weapons and
Yeah. I don't know. Let's say probably like have you ever played Time Stories? So
No.
Time Stories has been out. It's been out probably 10 years now.
Yeah.
But it was one of the very first like narrative-driven games. It was a game published by Asmodee where you like lay out a tableau of cards, and there's like a visual element to it, and you're controlling your characters, and it's very narrative-driven. So even though you don't get the opportunity to role play necessarily, you still get that sense of discovery that you get in RPGs.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be the twist, because the obvious answer, like I said, is the sort of like,
legacy game.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so if you like dice chucking, then I suggest.
So I immediately think of like the classic Ameritrash games, like the Risks and Axis and Allies and all that kind of stuff. This is what I'll say. So there is a Star Wars Risk game. So it's not bad like Risk. It's actually really fun.
You're like, don't come at me.
Yeah, I know.
Don't come at me.
Didn't say Risk. So it's actually super fun. It is dice chucking combat, that kind of stuff. But it does a really good job. There's like 3 elements to it that are simultaneously happening. And I think it's from the end of episode 6. So like Return of the Jedi. So you're managing 3 different areas using the Risk dice chunking mechanism, generally speaking. So, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So if you like cooperative play, then I suggest.
Oh goodness. Okay, this is a little offbeat. So here's what I'll tell you. So I don't play, even though I've designed solitaire games, I don't really play solitaire games.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I do is my daughter and I play a lot of solo games together. Okay.
I remember you mentioned that. Yeah.
So I would say anything that's a solo game, just do it solo together.
Yeah.
It's a fun experience. So then it's like games like Warp's Edge or Under Falling Skies or Final Girl. All of those that are like super exciting thematic games are really fun to co-op together.
Yeah.
So that would be my sort of off the beaten path recommendation for that.
Solo Together would be a great podcast name for you and your daughter. You should start a show. Okay, if you like alternative history, then I suggest.
Oh gosh. Okay. So, alt history. I mean, like any historical game is kind of an alt history.
I know once you start moving counters.
Yeah, exactly. They're all alt history. So pick any game. Have I played? It's a game by Lock and Load called Nuclear Winter 68 or something like that. It's cool. It's like almost silly in that like you it's not going to be balanced or anything like that, right? It's just crazy sci-fi. So that's fun. That was a good one. So maybe that, like, if we can go alt history crazy sci-fi,
Yeah.
that's probably one I think of. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If you like operational level, then I suggest.
Oh gosh.
Turns out Herm doesn't like operational level. I learned that when I was asking
No
him
operational level
earlier.
games?
He's like, I don't hate. I don't like operational. He likes grand tactical.
Oh gosh. Oh well, then no matter what I say, Graham's going to correct me. He's going to say that's actually a grand tactical game.
Actually.
Oh, what would it be? Maybe like the. Oh, I don't know. This is a good question. I should know the answer to it. I should be able to think of something.
Oh no.
Maybe like John Butterfield's Bulge game, right? Does that? Am I good with the Bulge game? Herman's giving me the two thumbs up.
I mean, it's a big enough battle that it would have to be operational. Herm said it was okay.
Herm said it was okay.
Herm approves. All right. If you like modern conflict, then I suggest.
Let's see.
Which I know modern conflict can be defined
Yeah.
in ways.
I'm going to wager a guess that I'm gonna like. My buddy Russ is going to teach me We're Coming to Nineveh tomorrow. So I'm gonna wager that it's awesome and that it's a modern game.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go.
So I'm guessing you know this game because you have younger kids. If you like Roblox, then I suggest.
I just know my son plays it all the time. I don't really know. It's like you can do whatever you want with it. You can create
Pretty open
anything.
world, yeah.
Yeah, very open world. So what's an open world feeling game? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, well, I'd probably recommend like an RPG then, right? Because you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
And that is one interesting thing because you asked about TTRPGs. One interesting experience is I've played what are called adventure games. That's the series, and they're really good. They have like a narrative-driven thing. But when I play with my kids, they inevitably say, "Why don't we just play D&D instead?" Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like if we're going to play a narrative game, let's just go full creative.
Yeah.
So I would say that like an RPG would be probably where you have a lot of creative liberty as a player.
Yeah.
Would be the closest maybe to something like a Roblox where you can build your own stuff.
Yeah, or Minecraft or something.
Yeah,
That's
right.
awesome.
Yeah.
So speaking of Roblox, I know you're a dad of 3.
Mm-hmm.
Do you game a lot with your family?
Oh, this is a sore point. I used to. My oldest daughter, my 16-year-old, likes social deduction games, right? And so like Werewolf and stuff.
Yeah.
I can talk her into playing that, but you need a big group. My son used to play a lot of like direct conflict 2-player stuff with me, and I've completely lost him to video games. So now we just play video games together.
Well, that's still kind of fun though.
Yeah. It's just not the glory days of being able to play every single day. And that even my 14-year-old daughter, who was like my holdout, she would play war games with me. She'd do anything. Even she's kind of drifted because we used to have our like Saturday morning coffee and game dates, and we've even lost that to some degree.
Yeah.
So, but she was my holdout. She was the one who I could get to play pretty much anything. So now it's rare. So it has to be like family vacation or something like that, or one of them will appease dad and they're willing to play games.
Yeah. Oh, still sounds like they're good kids overall.
Oh, yeah.
So you're a successful designer, you have a military career, and you have a family. So what is your secret to balance? What does a normal workday look like for you?
So very regimented, very compartmentalized. So I wake up every day, 7 days a week, about 3:30, 4 o'clock, do design work until 6 in the morning, exercise, go to work, come home. And I don't do any game design stuff in the afternoon or evening. That's family time, except Sundays and Tuesdays, which is when I have my scheduled design meetings with Trevor.
Yeah.
So like it's like clockwork. It's like I basically treat it like it's a job, right? So
I mean, it is.
It is.
You do well in both of them.
Yeah. So it's
that's
very
interesting.
structured. Yep.
I took a class on Mozart one time in my graduate degree, and we got to look at all these really cool pie charts of like successful people and how they break up their day. And I've just always been really interested to hear like how do people, achieve and then like also still maintain creativity, because for me, I don't think I could have a super regimented day and be creative
Yeah,
at the
it's
same
tough.
time.
It's tough, and like one of the, and I'm not complaining, this is like, no kidding, blessed first world problems, but a good chunk of that design time is like answering emails and responding to forum questions,
Yeah.
and it's not design time,
Maintenance.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, when do I actually get to work on design?
Yeah.
So
It always
that can
feels
be a
like it's put to the
challenge.
bottom of the
Yeah,
list. Yeah. Man, that's really interesting though. Okay, what is one, actually, if there is one game that exists that you wish you could have designed, what game would it be and why?
I think this is good. So we talked about Few Acres of Snow. So like my favorite games, Maria, Few Acres of Snow, El Grande. But El Grande stands out to me because I remember, it's been around forever, 20 plus years. But I didn't play it until maybe about 5 years ago. And I remember after playing it the first time, I was like, well, why did people keep designing games? Because the perfect game has been made.
It's been done. It's
so,
been done.
so I mean, I think it's like the closest to a perfect game. So
Yeah.
I guess it would be that one because I'm really impressed with that design.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. What is one non-game thing that has had a huge influence on your designs?
For sure, this is easy. So I told you I moved to the UK 2014. I had just started playing board games within like a year or two before that, and I really just started kind of getting into design. So I was getting into designing, moved to the UK, and our first family vacation was to Normandy.
Oh, cool.
And it wasn't until then I really started getting into military history
Yeah.
at the same time. And so visiting Normandy, my son was like 4 months old at the time. And that's where my grandfather on my mom's side was in World War II. They landed on Normandy. And so
wow.
Undaunted Normandy is about his unit. So it follows his unit. And my son is named after him. And so like all of this stuff sort of converged at one time. So that impacted my personal life, but also like 100% my game design life.
Yeah. Oh, that is super cool. That was one of our COVID games. I was living with my mom and my dad, and like every day at like 5, I would finish my work and we'd crack open beers and play Normandy. We loved it. It was really fun. Yeah. And I remember there was like a lot of pollen, and I just remember the game was like yellow, but it was so fun to play. Okay, so you have a game coming out with us later this year at Flying Pig Games called Rebels Against Rebellion. We're really excited. I know you visited Scott County, Tennessee to experience the location of the game firsthand. So this kind of goes along with your Normandy response too. It seems very influential for you to be able to visit these locations. So how did this site affect your game design or visiting it?
I needed to see the topography, right? So, I wanted to visit there's some practical things, right? So first of all, it's an extremely niche topic with almost no secondary source material on it, like a secondary source material. So I literally had to go there to get some primary sources.
Yeah.
Right? I had to meet the people, I had to get the source material. I wanted to see the topography because no matter what, hey, it's Appalachia. I used to live in Alabama, northern Alabama, so I kind of know it. But I wanted to visit these creeks where the battles were happening, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was the combination of like just the no kidding having to get the physical. There was a book I wanted to buy and I couldn't find it anywhere, and I kept seeing references to it. And I was like, why can't, no matter how hard I try, I can't get it from a library. No library will loan it to me. And so I went there and I realized their historical society just has it as a PDF and they print it out. That is the book. There was no actual book,
Yeah.
right? So you had to go there because they wouldn't mail it to me. So, literally having to go to it to get the books. But yeah, the other thing that was interesting too is the game does, I think, a pretty good job of trying to stress how important the creeks and stuff were as far as like lines of communication and stuff. And I wanted to go to one of the battle sites, but these battles are tiny, right?
Yeah.
We're talking like 20 people, right? And so I reached out to somebody in Scott County and I said, hey, I want to go to this location because I know this is where one of the battles took place. And he's like, yeah, I could take you there, but we're gonna have to drive like 45 minutes, and then we're gonna have to hike 2 hours.
Wow.
And so like just to get a sense of like how no kidding remote it was influential to the design itself.
Yeah. Sounds kind of fun though to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So can you briefly tell us how Rebels Against Rebellion plays?
Yes, so it is a 2-player game. Now we've come up with a solitaire system for the player who's taking on the role of Scott County specifically. So you can play it that way, solitaire. 2-player game. It is card-driven, like we talked about, card-driven deck building game. And so you are really managing a lot of different things. And the game attempts to simulate the guerrilla conflict, right? And so I looked early on when we were trying to simulate how we're gonna do this. I looked at like hidden movement games. I looked at block games to try to evoke the concept of you potentially have presence somewhere, but you don't know what the troop strength is.
Yeah.
And so that's actually what led to the inspiration from A Few Acres of Snow, because it does a really good job of, the potential of the combat strength of your opponent, but you have no idea what it is on the board, right?
Yeah.
In a block, similar to a block game, but even more so,
Yeah.
right? So that's unit strength is a very abstract concept because guerrillas are basically blending into the land. You don't know where they are at any given time. And then presence everywhere is what's important. So in the game, you're spending your resources to expand, which is great because now you're present more places, but you're taking a card for every location you're expanding into, which makes your deck more inefficient. And so you're trying to manage that, right? So it's this push and pull of, yes, I want to expand, I want to be present in more locations. That leaves me more vulnerable. I have to manage that. And then the Confederates have like I said, it's just the residents of Scott County. And so, but you're fighting against both secessionist guerrillas and the actual Confederate army. And so that player has a whole nother challenge of trying to maintain supply for their actual Confederate units. So a lot of tension in the game, the bluffing in combat, and maintaining supply for the Confederates. So hopefully it's able to evoke that concept of the guerrilla warfare, like was what we really wanted to stress.
Yeah. It's fun both times I've played it. What is your favorite historical figure from this game and why?
Oh, okay.
Tinker Dave. No,
Tinker Dave is very close. He might be number 2. So one thing that's I think really fun and maybe special about the game is when most people think of ACW games, they think of the big battles and they think of the generals, right?
Yeah.
That's what everybody knows. So that doesn't exist in this game because it didn't exist in the history, right? This is all about like the individual people who were just normal people who wanted to protect their county, right? And fight for what they believed in. And so the people that emerge in this story are not generals. These are like normal, everyday people. And so probably a young woman by the name of Julia Markham, she stands out. There's tons and tons of stories. We could talk about all of them. But she stands out because her dad was part of the Home Guard. So he was part of this resistance group. He was also a pilot. So he was sneaking men in Tennessee up to Kentucky so they could join the Union Army. So he had a big bullseye painted on his head, right? Like the Confederacy wanted him dead. Yeah. So they came to their house. Of course, he was in hiding because he knew they wanted him dead, but his family was at the house. And so they came and the Confederate soldiers were like roughing up the family to include his daughters. Yeah. And his 16-year-old daughter was like, I've had enough of this. So she confronted one of them and she had an axe. He bayoneted her in the eye, so she lost her eye. That's how she lost the eye, okay. Yep, that's how she lost her eye. He shot at her and shot a couple of her fingers off. So she wound up killing him. Yeah.
Good for her.
She had a really rough life. The family had to move. They had to leave the house during the war. She became a very prominent figure. A lot of people respected her. But she was also one of the only women that got a military pension after the war was over.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's probably the most extreme, but a lot of the game has a lot of stories about people like that in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a one-of-a-kind story.
Yeah.
And, super interesting. And, what bravery. Right. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything else coming out this year that you would like to discuss? I know you're super prolific, so I wanted to...
So the only other thing coming out this year, in 2025, would be Line of Fire, Burnt Moon, right, which is a game coming out from Osprey. Mm-hmm. So it's like a card-only version of Undaunted. And then and then I have a series with Osprey called General Orders, which is like a small 2-player worker placement type game. That'll be coming out in, I think, like August, probably Gen Con timeframe. So it's the second one. This takes place instead of the first one, which was World War II, this is Imperial Japan. Yeah. So that's fun.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. And then 2026 is crazy. Who knows what'll actually come out, but I won't go into any of that.
I know, it's too far ahead, I guess, right?
Yes, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this interview. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.